Hi, thanks so much for joining us today for how to truly connect with clients virtually. My name is Trisha Qualley, and I'm the managing partner of Affiliated Advisors. We're excited to have you join us on this important topic, and more importantly, taking some time out of your day to think about improving your business and how you can better connect with clients. At Affiliated Advisors, our mission is to help advisors build the businesses of their dreams while serving their clients with integrity, creativity, and compassion. And now more than ever before, this mission has really been strong for us in terms of helping our advisors. We wanted to extend our expertise in the areas of client work and things that can be improved on an advisor business. And so we've built out our quarantine series of best practice webinars. These webinars will be actually on Wednesdays at 2 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Central. We changed our timing a little bit of that there, so please disregard the PowerPoint that says Thursdays. But keep a lookout for invitations from us for Wednesdays at 2 p.m. Eastern. We have some upcoming virtual meetings, starting with a session next week that will be about nursing home worries and how long-term care insurance may help. We also will have a session on connecting with clients from an emotional standpoint and moving beyond the question, how are you? And we'll cover some business continuity planning tips among other topics that will be upcoming for the rest of the summer. So as I mentioned, keep an eye out for those invitations, and we hope to see you at some of our other sessions. But for today, we'll be talking about the important topic of connecting with clients virtually. If you're anything like me, you probably built your practice by meeting people face to face and developing a relationship and an emotional connection when you are one-on-one. That might have been in your office or in a client's house or perhaps at a restaurant or anywhere in between. But really, my guess would be most of your client relationships started with that face-to-face connection. Now we're here in one of the craziest years we've ever had, and clients are more, in a lot of ways, concerned than they ever have been before. And perhaps during other challenging times, you were able to sit down with clients, take a deep breath together, kind of reset, surface and level set in that in-person setting. Now you're forced to have some of those more difficult conversations virtually. And I bet that was a bit of a transition for you. And you couple that with some of the most volatile stock markets we've seen on record. What does that mean for you as an advisor? And how can you be sure you are connecting with clients in a meaningful way when you're doing something over Zoom or over FaceTime or one of the other many virtual softwares that are out there for connection? Today, I'm going to talk you through 7 tips that you can put into place to improve this experience, not only for you, but more importantly for your clients. How can you make this virtual setting that much better so you're not struggling virtually and instead you're focusing on that relationship with clients? A great way to be thinking about that, and I'm going to start this one out right away, is thinking about using phone audio instead of computer audio. One of the things that goes into play when you're starting with clients for the first time, if they've never used video conferencing before, how are they going to be comfortable with that kind of setting? Now maybe clients are a bit more used to it, but if you have ever had a client that has never done video conferencing, I encourage you to use phone audio instead of computer audio. And what I mean by that is instead of setting up a Zoom meeting for your client, just tell them that you're going to give them a phone call. You're going to have a phone call and you're going to get the video technology set up together. For a lot of clients, that takes the pressure off of them trying to figure things out on their own. I promise you, your clients know how to answer a phone call. They've done that before. They know what it's like. I can't promise that your clients have used Zoom or another video conferencing service, and those technical difficulties might create initial challenges for the client that you can avoid if you get them on the phone first. So instead of just sending out an invitation with a full-on video conferencing system, why don't you start by saying, I'll give you a call? Which leads me into my second tip. But before we get there, I do have a free guide for you available that covers the do's and do nots of video conferencing. If this is something you'd like to see, please send me an email or send me a chat with the function, and I'll make sure to get this to you after today's call. Back to tip number 2, including a meeting link on your website. If you have a website and have the ability of adding custom links, what you can do is embed a meeting link that will route people back to your screen sharing service, whatever that might be. And if you have that meeting link enabled and you've got your clients on the phone, like we talked about during our last tip, what you can do while you're on the phone and you've done your initial hello with your clients is direct your client to your website and direct your client to that meeting link. This accomplishes a couple of things. I think the most important thing it accomplishes is that you've already got your client on the phone, so there's no chance that they're not going to be able to make the meeting. They're connected to you already. And because of that, as they're connected, if they experience any technical difficulty actually launching the video conferencing software, you're on the phone and can talk them through whatever might come up for them. What I've found is every computer is a little bit different. So the experience of connecting to video conferencing software will be different client to client. And if you're controlling that experience, if you're the one telling your client, click here, maybe adjust your computer settings, maybe you need to change your video or turn your webcam on, the client will be that much more comfortable. Another added perk of this is you're driving traffic to your website. So perhaps clients have never visited your website before. If you're driving them to your website to get connected to you virtually, you're showcasing another way that you're setting yourself apart from your competition. You are available online. Here's some helpful resources you can use. This is the meeting link we'll use in the future. It's a great way to create that digital connection to clients right at the beginning of your call and your meeting. My third tip is to set the stage with backdrops and with lighting. I think this is really important to think about and to showcase your professionalism in a video setting. My guess would be you put a lot of time and thought into building out your office space. You probably don't have clients coming into your storage closet if they're meeting you in your office. My guess would be you're either bringing them into a conference room or perhaps a section of your office where there's not a lot of clutter. I encourage you to replicate the same environment with your home setting or your office setting where you will be doing your video conferencing. As you can see on the display, we have an example of a desk with a nice bookcase behind. There's also a great window which allows you to get natural light into your setting and kind of a calming environment overall. When you're on a video conference, this will show through, and it will really, in a lot of ways, show your clients that you took the time to be thoughtful about what they want to see from you and what you're showing to them kind of behind the scenes. Along the same lines, I'd encourage you to think about your lighting. This slide also features a lighting system called a selfie light. These are actually very cheap and available on online retailers. It's something that you can pick up for $15 or $20. And if you use your selfie light, you can put it right on your desk to bring light up into your face. I'm actually using one of these right now, and I'll demonstrate what it looks like with the light on. I have the light on right now. And if I turn the light off, you can tell shadows kind of come into the picture. My guess is the focus is a little bit off because I'm not as brightly lit. And it's a great way for you to bring lighting into a room that might not have as much natural lighting as you would like. So something to consider, a very cheap investment, and something that you can add to your virtual setting for these kinds of calls. My fourth tip is to create and stick to an agenda. My guess is you're already doing this with your client meetings, and you have an agenda that you've thoughtfully put together. When you're in person, you're usually relying on verbal cues and body language in a lot of ways to see if the client is engaged and if they're comfortable with the pace that you're going through for the meeting. You can pause for those natural breaks in conversation to make sure that they understand. Things are a little bit different in a virtual setting. You miss out on all of that body language. And while that's not necessarily a bad thing, in a lot of ways, you just have to be more intentional about what you really do want to be talking about in the meeting. And by creating and sticking to that agenda, you'll be able to eliminate any of those awkward pauses or moments that might not flow too naturally in a virtual setting as opposed to in an in-person setting. So this is a great thing to refine, and also important to share that agenda with your clients at the beginning of the meeting, throughout the meeting, and then at the end of the meeting to summarize what you've discussed. My fifth tip is to slow down. This is something that I think for a lot of advisors, they're nervous about using video conferencing, and there might be a little bit of anxiety related to using a new form of technology. And when people are feeling anxious, the natural reaction is to speed up. And when I'm talking about speeding up, I'm going to say that in 3 different ways. You're probably going to start out by talking faster than you normally might in person. Your body language might also move a little bit faster than you would if you were in person. And if you're doing any screen sharing or showing anything back and forth, you're probably moving quicker than you would if you had someone face-to-face as well. So take a deep breath at the beginning of your meeting and remind yourself to slow down in how you're speaking. If you are someone that talks with your hands or you use a lot of body language in your conversation, remember that there might be a lag in terms of video connection. So be mindful of that and slow down your body language as well. And especially if you're doing screen sharing, remember that the lag exists. And if you're showing something on your screen, it's totally possible that what you're talking about, you're actually a couple slides behind or a couple web pages behind. So take those pauses before you move on to a next screen. Make sure that your clients are seeing what you're talking about. And overall, just take the meeting at a slower pace than what might feel normal or natural, or certainly slower than what you would be doing in person. My 6th tip is to start and end your meeting with full screen video. This is a really, really nice way to look for verbal cues with your clients and also to share some of those verbal cues on your own site as well. People right now are craving connection. For many of us, we've been working from our homes. We're spending more time at home than ever before, and we are looking for a way to connect with people. Full screen video definitely doesn't replace an in-person connection, but it does feel differently than just the partial screen that I'm doing right now. You probably see my little bubble, and you can, it's something, it's better than nothing. But having a full screen video will eliminate kind of the business side of your meeting and allow you to be really personal with your clients one-on-one. Most screen sharing tools allow you to choose full screen video. So it's something that you as the organizer of the meeting can enter into. You'll enter into full screen, have a couple of quick comments back and forth with your clients, maybe comment on something that you see in their home environment. This is a unique opportunity for you to see into their home. If you see a picture or maybe you see a pet, take advantage of that opportunity to ask them about what's going on in their home life and use the full screen video to your advantage. And perhaps you do the same thing with something that you've got in your own backdrop. Play with this a little bit at the beginning of the meeting, and then when you're closing the meeting, use those same tips at the end. Starting and ending with full screen video will make things that much more comfortable for your clients and give you a sense to see face to face, even though it's virtual, how they're doing and how they feel about the meeting as a whole. My 7th tip is to embrace technical difficulties with patience. And this is a hard one because I know financial advisors love to strive for perfection. It's one of those things, my guess would be, that striving for perfection is how you've been so successful up until today, right? We live in an industry where mistakes can make a big impact on a client's financial plan. But remember, technical difficulties and any mistakes that might come up with video conferencing are ultimately not mistakes on their portfolio or their overall financial plan. So if you instead learn to embrace those technical difficulties with patience, you're going to show your clients that you truly are a virtual leader. And especially if those difficulties come up and you can help your client problem solve through whatever technical difficulty is in front of them, they'll appreciate your patience and your expertise, and they'll look to you for advice on other things as well. So embrace the technical difficulties. Along the same lines, I'd encourage you to test your video conferencing software. Have you done a practice run before? If you haven't, please let me know, and I would love to be your test client. Or even if you're changing something, whether that's your backdrop or your lighting or something with your screen sharing capabilities, pull someone in from your team or a colleague advisor and ask if there'll be a practice for you. By doing practice runs, you will be more likely to run into technical difficulties that you can kind of practice solving ahead of time. That way, if your client does have something that comes up as a problem, it's possible you've seen it before, and you can help them solve it in a meaningful and quick way from that perspective. So give that a shot. I'll review my 7 tips once more and kind of link these all together. Number 1, use phone audio instead of computer audio. Call your clients on the phone instead of setting up a virtual link to begin with, and talk them through the process over the phone while you're getting things set up. Do that with my 2nd tip by adding the meeting link to your website. That will drive traffic to your website and also ensure, because you've got your client on the phone, that they're connected to the video conferencing software. My 3rd tip is to set your stage with backdrops and lighting. And my 4th tip is to create and stick to an agenda. I have some good tips on this one too. If you're curious about what works well for a virtual meeting agenda, please let me know. I'd love to talk through what's worked well for our advisors and help you craft a virtual agenda of your own. My 5th tip is to slow down. Slow down how you're talking, slow down how you're moving, and slow down any screen sharing that you're doing so that you can ensure that you're on the same page with clients. My 6th tip is to start and end with full screen video and use those moments to really connect in a way where you're looking at the scene that your client has presented to you, and you're also inviting questions about anything that you've got on your own scene as well. And my 7th tip is to embrace technical difficulties with patience. They're probably going to happen, and it's okay if they happen. And if you as the advisor and as the leader can see your client through those technical difficulties, they will be that much more likely to trust you with any other difficulties they have going on in their life. And with that, I'd love to open things up for questions. You can use the chat function within Zoom if you have a question. I also had a few questions that were sent to me ahead of time that I'll cover now, but please use the chat function if you have a question of your own. The first question that I had sent in was talking about a team environment. If you have 2 advisors or an advisor and a support person that are both going to be on the call, how can you be careful that you're not talking over each other and really, passing the torch from one question to another? This is very challenging. Some of my meetings that I actually do with one of my partners. And what he and I have gotten very good at is deciding ahead of time who's going to talk about what. And then even if there's something that I want to add that I think that maybe he's forgetting, I just wait and then bring that up during my own section. It's not quite as simple to interrupt someone if you're talking virtually as it would be if you were face-to-face and in a room together. It doesn't work quite as well. So if you're respectful about each other's time and where you should be talking and where you should be listening, your virtual meeting will flow that much smoother. One of my other questions was about which technology I prefer to use. I get this question quite a bit. Years ago, I've actually used virtual meetings for quite some time. And years ago, I really liked one of the main, I would say, service providers of virtual conferencing tools that had a web component. So rather than a download like Zoom, there was a way where you could just join the video conference on a web browser. But what I'm encouraging people to do now is get a sense of what your clients are using. And what I'm finding is that Zoom is very popular for clients. Right now, there are a lot of Zoom parties going on, whether it's with family or friends. And so it's absolutely possible that your client has used Zoom before. Another popular item would be FaceTime, which is an Apple product that you can get with iPhones. This is a really nice one to do, especially if you just want to do a quick check-in meeting where you're not doing a screen share. If you're not going to be presenting something, I'd encourage you to think about using FaceTime or even replacing FaceTime from a phone call if your clients are comfortable with that and if they have an iPhone or an Apple supported device on their own. It's a really great connection tool from that perspective. Google Hangouts is similar. There are a lot of options out there, but I'd encourage you to do an informal poll of your clients and then perhaps choose a few different tools depending on which client you're going to be talking to. All right. Thank you so much for taking the time today. I'd love to hear from you if you have any other specific questions about today's topic. And we'd also love to see you for our session next week on nursing home worries and how long-term care insurance may help. I know a lot of clients are thinking about long-term care right now with everything that we have going on in the news. So we will have Lori Skibo, our Director of Insurance here at Affiliated Advisors, presenting on this important topic, and we hope to see you then. Thanks so much, and I hope you have a great afternoon.